Hey, is that folk music that you play there? What is that? How do you call that folk music?
I think it was Studs Terkel who asked Big Bill Brunzi, did he consider his blues music to be folk music? And Big Bill says, well, never heard no horse.
Don't hesitate. It could be your ticket to a new tomorrow.
Walking down the road feeling bad. I'm walking down the road feeling bad. I'm walking down the road feeling bad. My Lord, ain't going to hey buddy, hey. I'm sorry, tastes like wine. I'm going where the water tastes like wine. I'm going where the water tastes like wine. Oh Lord. Hey buddy, hey buddy, hey. I'm going to where the weather suits my clothes. I'm going where the weather suits my clothes. I'm going where the weather suits my clothes, Lord, Lord. Hey buddy, hey buddy, hey. I was way down the jail on my knees. I was way down in jail on my knees. I was way down in jail on my knees, Lord, Lord. Hey buddy, hey. Had a good woman and the fool laid down and died. Had a good girl, the fool laid down and died. Had a good girl, the fool laid down and died. Hey buddy, hey. Going where the climate suits my clothes. I'm going where the climate suits my clothes. I'm going where the climate suits my clothes, Lord. Hey buddy, hey. Hey buddy, hey. Another one there, Dorothy?
Down in jail again.
Okay. Way down in jail on my knees. I was way down in jail on my knees.
I was way down in jail on my knees, Lord, Lord. Hey buddy, hey. They fed me on cornbread and peas. They fed me on cornbread and peas. They fed me on cornbread and peas, Lord, Lord. Hey buddy, hey.
$2 shoes hurts my feet. $2 shoes hurts my feet. $2 shoes hurts my feet, Lord, Lord. Hey buddy, hey. Gonna get
$5 won't buy me no shoes.
$5 won't buy me no shoes. $5 won't buy me no shoes, Lord, Lord. Hey buddy, hey.
Going down the road feeling bad.
I'm going down the road feeling bad. I'm going down the road feeling bad, Lord.
I ain't gonna be treated this way. Go ahead.
anymore in that head of yours?
Not right now.
Huh?
Not right now.
Get me some $10 shoes. I'm gonna get me some $10 shoes. I'm gonna get me some $10 shoes. Lord, Lord, ain't gonna feeling bad. Going down the road feeling bad. Going down the road feeling bad. Going down the road feeling bad, Lord, Lord. Hey, buddy, hey, buddy, hey.
Now you would like me to tell you some of the things we used to do on Saturday nights?
Sure, why not? Well,
Oh.
let's first introduce you
Oh, all
and the
right.
show. The show is called Horses Sing None of It. My name is Ralph Litwin. We have with us Dorothy Evans. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the show, Dorothy.
Thank you.
And we were going to tell people how it was that we happened to meet, and it has to do with that song.
Right.
I was playing with a group in a local department store down in Morristown, New Jersey, by the name of Epstein's Department Store, and we were singing this song, and we were singing the verse as going down the road feeling bad, ain't gonna be treated that way. And Dorothy jumped out of the crowd and started singing, hey buddy, hey. And then she sang some verses for us and everything right there in the store. And so then we got to talking afterwards, and Dorothy is such a good storyteller that I thought she would make an excellent guest here on Horses Sing None of It to tell us about some of the things she told us about that night in Epstein's and some other things, whatever happens to strike your fancy, Dorothy. So thanks for coming down.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and it is a pleasure because what really happened that we happened to come into that store, my friend that's with me tonight, we had gone there for a sale. And just when I heard this, it really brought back memories of the South. And I said, well, now who is this guy singing this song? And I said, when we used to do this on Saturday night because we had anything else to do, because we had no transportation like we have now. And what we would do is go from house to house, and they say, well, we're going to have a party tonight. Well, everybody would gather and bring their guitars or banjos, or if there was a piano in the house, we played that. And I was also telling Ralph that if we got hungry, we didn't have restaurants like we have here, or at that time they didn't have them there. And if they'd had them, we didn't have the money to buy the food. So we would be at some of the houses, and if we got hungry, we would kill a chicken, kill the chicken and cook it, eat it, and make something that possibly you never heard of before, is the old-fashioned dumplings. Naturally, that was added because it would spread the food. I mean, you'd have enough food to go around, and possibly you would have greens and other things that they would already have cooked if they knew we were coming. But it was not always planned. We just maybe happened up at a house and we would create a party. While some was playing music, whatever, in maybe one of the rooms, some of the others we would be playing cards. We would play cards, and we called it setback. And if we won 2 of the best out of 3, then you had to get up and change partners, or change up and 2 more people would come in. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we stayed all night because we didn't have transportation. No one went to bed. We didn't have any transportation to get home maybe until daylight.
Sounds like a heck of a party.
Well, we did. We had some good parties. We really did, and we had fun with it. And the way sometimes we used to celebrate each other's birthdays, our mom would make us a cake or whatever, and maybe we would have tea. And we didn't have Kool-Aid and maybe not Coca-Colas at that time, not enough to have a party. So maybe we would have tea and coffee. But we always had the birthday cake. Might not have candles to put on it, but we had a birthday cake. Mm-hmm. So we would go to each other's house, we would play games and celebrate a birthday, cut the cake, and then we would go home. So then we had one instance with one of our school teachers. We were planning a play for the school closing, for the commencement. And we went to her house to rehearse that night. And it was 2 or 3 miles from different ones' homes. And we went to her house for rehearsal. And it came up a storm. And she said, well, you children can't go home in the storm. Said, you'll just have to stay here. Said, we will make room, we will sleep on the floor or whatever. We call them pallets. And we will sleep there. So we had one little boy in the bunch. He went everywhere we went. He followed us anyway. Everywhere we went, he would go. And he said, well, if we stay here all night, says, how are we going to get breakfast? And one of his sisters or someone in the bunch spoke up and says, well, dummy, we will go home for breakfast. He says, well, I'm not worried about that part. He said, because I'm hungry now. So the teacher, she gets up and I think she might have had some gingerbread or something made anyway for us, because if you go, you would get something at their house. We call it molasses bread. It was made with molasses instead of sugar. And we call it gingerbread because they put ginger in it and different flavoring. Whatever they had, that's what they put in it, and they baked it. They always had something to serve you, regardless of what time of day, what time of night that you went to their house. So another thing we used to do, I had an aunt, and I know now since I've got grown, that she did this specially for us, because when we come home from school, it was kind of out of the way, but we would go by, we was in the country, you had to walk to school. So you had to go out of your way to get to her house. And she made what we call half-moon pies. I don't know if you're familiar with that phrase or not. It was made with dried fruit that they dried during the summer, and it was seasoned with sugar and vanilla, and made with, she took a saucer or a plate and laid it down and cut it out and fill that with fruit, and then you crimp it all around with fork, and you fried it with butter or whatever you had.
That sounds good.
And she had this wood stove, and she would pack them. There would be 2 this way and 2 this way. I can just see them right now, pretty and brown. And she would have them on the back of the stove in packs. I mean packs, like maybe this high. And some of the school kids, we'd gather there. Just as quick as we left the schoolhouse, next thing we went to Aunt Mary's. And she would say to us sometimes, she said to me one day, don't you go in my kitchen. We'd go through the front door and we'd keep marching, because we knew where there was. We'd keep marching. She said, don't you go in my kitchen. And I says, well, I'm going, and I'm going to have a pie, because I know there's a pie in there. She says, how do you know? She's playing with all of us. But she made them for us. I know that now. So we would go in, we would eat these pies. But this particular day when she told me not to go in her kitchen, I went in and the house was on fire. Up in the stove flue. See, it was a wooden stove. That's all they had. There was a fire started up there. And I said to her, Aunt Mary, the house is on fire. And she said, oh, gal, she didn't say girls, oh, gal, don't be playing with me like that. I said, sure enough, the house is on fire. So she comes back there and she said, Lord have mercy, what will we do? So she had a son named Paul, well, we call him Pete. And she yelled for him. He was out in the field somewhere, I think gathering corn or something. And she yelled for him. And he came to the house, and we had a well that you wind up you had to pull it up with a windlass. We call it a windlass. And you bring it up, it's a rope around it. Right. You bring it up. And so we set up a brigade from the house to the well with buckets or anything we could grab. Buckets, wash pans, pots, whatever, to get the water there to get it to him so he could put the fire out. So he got the fire out. So then when we got ready to leave there that day, she says, I'm never going to tell you not to go in my kitchen again.
Guess not.
Says you can have all the pie you want anytime you come. But we know now that she made them specially for us. But, she was just she was teasing us like that. You not eat up the pies, But she made them every day for us when we come by from school. I don't know how she ever afforded it, if you want to know the truth, because sugar was hard to get at that time, because we lived about We lived about 3 or 4 miles from transportation. And to get anything, you either had to walk to get it, you had to walk to the stores. You had to walk, and we would take eggs. We'd steal them. We'd steal them from the hen's nest and put them aside. So when we got ready to go to the store, we would trade the eggs in. The man knew good and well we stole them. And we would sell the eggs to buy candy. Then we would slip around, we'd buy cigarettes with them and divide up the cigarettes, buy a pack of cigarettes for 10 cents. 10 cents a pack. It was Avalon cigarettes. Oh, I'm advertising, huh?
I don't think they're in business anymore.
No, Avalon cigarettes, 10 cents a pack. Then we would divide them because everybody would have to smoke one so one wouldn't tell on the other. Although we didn't have sense enough to know that when we got home, they smelled the smoke on us anyway. We never thinking about that part. So then, if we ran out of cigarettes, we'd hide them. If there was 5 of us, well, there's 20 cigarettes. So we'd have, the 5 of us, we'd have that many to share with each other. And then, if one ran out before the other, we would see each other at school or whatever and say, have you got any cigarettes left? This is the way we started. It's a wonder we used to go in the barn and smoke. It's a wonder we had to burn it down. We used to go there because my father used to take care of horses. And he used to bring them home. I mean, kept them in our barns. And sometimes we'd go there. And now we wasn't allowed to play with the horses. That was a no-no. Never mistreat a horse. Because my father worked in, when they used to do construction, they didn't have all of these all this machinery that they have now. It was done with horses, and I guess they call them, I don't know what they call them, but they pulled it, and the horses pulled it, and 2 men would hold the thing. It was almost like a big shovel that moved the dirt. As the horses pulled, they would hold it in place and put the dirt aside. I don't know what you call them. But anyway, my daddy was the caretaker for the horses. At 4 o'clock in the morning, he used to get up and cur these horses, their fur, their skin, or whatever, hair, and cur them down. And see that there was no bruises on them or whatever, and there better not be. Meaning, if the men that was driving those horses, if one was ever hit, and my daddy knew it, they were fired. He did not allow them to mistreat them, because some guys had a habit of what they call loading the lines. They would put a thumbtack, like a thumbtack in the end of the lines, and hit the horses with them to make them move faster or whatever. My father never allowed that. And when the big boss, the head of the construction company that was the head of all of it, when he went to buy horses, my daddy is the one that chose the horses. He would say, well, we'll take this one or we'll take that one. He examined the horses and looked at them, and then the boss man bought whatever horses. He said, we'll take 4 of these or 6 of these or whatever. Then my daddy also did all of the turning of the shoes. I don't know if you know, familiar with that. The horseshoes in the blacksmith shop. They turn those to fit the horses' feet. And my daddy used to shoe all of the horses also. He knew if one lost a shoe or whatever, that horse didn't work the next day, or unless he had time to do it before he was to go out. Because they got up at 4 o'clock. He would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, get the horses ready, see that they was fed, watered, and ready to go. And when each man come to get the horse to go out, he knew that horse was in good condition, and he better bring him back like that. So we always could ride 1 or 2 of them, but my daddy chose the ones we could ride and the ones we couldn't. If it was wild, we had one time, if my daddy was out sick or anything, or if the horse stood up on a rainy day for a couple of days in the barn, no one could put his bridle on him but my daddy. my brothers would go, his name was Bill. We always, my daddy didn't allow us to ride him. My daddy could go to the door of the stable and say, "Come here, Bill," and the horse would come to him. He'd put his bridle on him and put his harness, whatever he needed to be on, but no one else could do it. Not even the horse wouldn't let him. He would turn around and start kicking. So if the horses didn't work, and if it's raining and they didn't work, now no one could catch that horse but my daddy could take it out of that stable. So he used to, "Bill, come here." Bill just walk over to him, but my daddy was good to the animals, and he did not allow them to be mistreated.
Sounds like he was quite a horseman.
He was. He did not allow them to be mistreated in no way, because he could tell. He said when he curved one down, it was a special thing that they go over them, and it was slick and pretty as they could be, because he kept them that way. He could tell if that horse had been hit because he would flinch where he brushed him, and he would know that the man that had the horse, if he had been mistreated or whatever. And all he had to do was tell the boss, which was Mr. Bolton. I remember him well. And my daddy followed him. They traveled all over the country. And when I was a little girl, like from 5 years old, I can remember traveling in parts of Tennessee where they would be working with my mother. My mother would go to visit my daddy, and I would go along. And his boss man, my daddy's boss man, was named Mr. Bolton. And he called my daddy Old Timer. Old Timer, and he called me Little Timer. He called me, how are you today, Little Timer? And they had boarding, in those places where they stayed, they had boarding houses. But each man had their own, well, there was really tents. You know, there was tents, but there was beds in them. I mean, sure enough, beds with wooden floors, but it was a tent over it. And my mother would take me to visit them, and then Mr. Bolden used to come by. He always had a new car, and I used to go with him shopping. He'd come by and say, come on, little Timer. And we would go into Elizabethton, Tennessee. I can remember it so well.
Now, did you grow up in Tennessee?
No, but my daddy would be working at these different places. I grew up in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
But my daddy would travel with this construction man, like they do now, and take care of the horses. But me and my mom would visit him at different times. She and I would go to visit him maybe for a week or whatever, and then our meals was prepared. They had what they call a mess halls or something. It's where everybody ate. And they had special cooks and whatever there that they prepared the food, and that's where we would eat. And we would stay 3 or 4 days or a week, and we would get the train and go back home. Elizabethton, Tennessee was not too far from western North Carolina where I grew up. I grew up in a place called Brackett's Town, and Vane Mountain was the mailing address. And it was like 3 miles we had to walk to pick up the mail.
Wow.
We lived, back. In fact, our house, well, it's just now, it's sad to me because it's falling in now. We sold it back to the people that my daddy bought it from. He bought it as a old storehouse. It was an old storehouse, and it was 2 rooms. Then we added 6 rooms to it.
I'm sorry, we're going to have to start to draw this conversation to a close because you have a fascinating memory of everything that happened in your life. We should let people know that you moved to Morristown, New Jersey
in 1968.
1968, and worked as a nurse at the Morristown Memorial Hospital
28
for
years.
28 years.
Right.
And so approximately what time period we're talking about your childhood in?
From the time I can remember, from 5 years to 18 till I married. I married when I was 18 years old, my first husband. And we're talking about a time frame. Now we moved then out of that area and moved to a place called Morganton, North Carolina, which was completely out of the. Most people started moving out when they could get cars and things because you had to get out to get work. because there was no work there for you. You know, if when we lived there, as a little girl, like I said, my daddy worked away, my mom stayed home, and I'm the baby of 7 children. Oh, I'm the 7th child of 7 children, and
the baby.
I'm the baby, and there's just 3 of us left now. I've got my oldest brother and my youngest brother. The youngest brother just over me.
But the one that you used to follow around.
Yeah, I used to follow him around. I thought he was the best thing in the world. Best. Well, he is a good brother. I don't ever let my oldest brother's living. I don't ever let him know that Ernest is my favorite. But,
You better not show him.
but I think he always knew it though.
Right. Now, you remembered some words to an old tune, to the tune of Polly Wolly Doodle before. You want to?
Went down the lane last night. Went down the lane last night, get me a chicken or 2. When I heard that old shotgun, boy did I askew. I grabbed my sack and I made for the door, didn't get away in time. About that time he caught me in the collar, boys did I get mine. I'm laying here in this old jail, home sweet home to me. But I'm gonna steal me a sack of chickens the day that I get free.
Fare thee well, fare thee well, fare thee well, my fairy fay. I'm going to Louisiana for to see Miss Louisiana sing Polly Wolly Diddle all day.
Steal me a sack of chickens the day that I get free.
Grasshopper sitting on a railroad track singing Polly Wolly Diddle all the day. Picking his teeth with a carpet tack singing Polly Wolly Diddle all the day. Fare thee well, fare thee well, fare thee well, my fairy fay. I'm going to Louisiana for to see Miss Louisiana singing Polly Wolly Diddle all the day. Well, I must say it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, Dorothy. I really enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure for you asking me, and I've enjoyed it to the fullest. And I have to also thank my friend Ann for bearing with me and coming with me.
Thank you, Ann, for coming.
Yes, and thank you for inviting me. It's really been a pleasure.
Well, let's see how much more time we got. We got another couple seconds here.
What are we going to sing?
Well, let's see. Peanut sitting on a railroad track, his heart was all aflutter. Long come the 419, choo choo peanut butter. Fare thee well, fare thee well, fare thee well.